Listen now, welcome to Detroit Black and White, our Saturday edition here at McChain's Michigan and Trumbull. Thank you, Bob Roberts. They're now serving breakfast 7 days a week. It opens at 7 o'clock during the week, a.m. Anyway.
During the week.
Good morning, Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Jim Nardone, our resident. I don't know what to call you after listening to you. Yeah.
Rant?
Yeah.
My little rant this morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Hey, Tammy. Good morning.
Hey, we might as well just go right in.
Tammy's muted.
Oh, she's muted.
Let's go right to our first guest. Hey, how you doing, Miss Daniels?
I'm well, and yourselves?
Hey, we haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. I miss you guys.
And you know, people talking about the land bank, we can't defend it. I said, we got to have to go get the executive director of the land bank, Tammy Daniels. What's happening with the land bank? You know, it's become a political football in this mayor's race. You got some candidates saying we need to, again, take control and throw it out the window. Others say it's doing an all right job, and you got your pros and cons. Where do you think it stands right now?
Tammy, can you hear us?
And there's like a background. I hear it's delayed, and I'm hearing two and. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. We can hear
loud and clear.
You're good.
It's the.
I was asking about the land bank, sort of the controversy behind it. And people are criticizing the land bank, and during this mayoral race, what have you listened to some of the criticism, and are they fair or unfair? All right, I think she's having an issue here.
So I always listen. I can. Yeah. So some of the criticism, it's fair, but a lot of it lacks context. So the land bank is the owner of last resort. At the height of our inventory, we had over 115,000 properties. For residents who have to live next to blighted, dilapidated, poorly maintained property, they have a right to be understood. The problem for the land bank and for the city is that the problem is a huge problem that requires extensive resources that we don't have. So while we have been very successful with our programming, we sold over 50,000 pieces of property in the last 10 years, we still have 63,000 pieces of property. And so while we can laud our successes, there still are 63,000 pieces of property in the city that need to find their way to an owner who's going to be able to maintain them and take care of them in a way that will be an asset to the community and not a drag on the neighborhood.
And let me ask you, one of the criticisms we always hear is that there's too much red tape. There's too many problems with. Is that something that you've had to address in terms of trying to make it simpler for people to buy and simpler for people to restore these homes?
So we continue to refine our processes. We've tried to make it very simple. Like you can literally buy property online. You can buy most of our flagship programming is online. You can do most of your transactions on the computer. You don't have to interact with anyone. The problem is that for a number of the property, there are multiple people who apply to purchases, not just one person, which then requires our staff to do a tremendous amount of vetting and reviewing. It slows things up.
Tammy, can you log out and log back on?
I'll try.
We're having a hard time
with the Wi-Fi connection. Yeah, I think it's incorrect. Well, let's talk amongst ourselves.
Okay.
Go ahead, Adolph.
Well, you know, the land bank is a hot issue. And
What are the criticisms? I know we hear
people say that prices change for property. You know, Detroiters can't, long-time Detroiters can't buy. You know, when we was having Tammy come on monthly, and she answered most of the folks' questions. And, you know, I think they got to get that message out to the community, because once somebody take hold of a narrative and they're against you, they're gonna keep running with it.
Right.
So how long does your relationship with Tammy go back?
When I was at that right wing station called 910.
So you've been with Tammy for a long time.
Yeah, Tammy came on because people used to call the show and just go crazy about the land bank. And Vanessa said, "Oh, I know the executive director of the land bank," and she came on. And I said, "You need to come on monthly or every other month, you know, and talk about some of the programs, some of the issues." Yeah, people called in and had some of their problems. Most of the problems that they called about, they fixed it.
Let me ask you, it's Stanley Brooks is saying it's sometimes hard to hear you guys audio when you do a show. We bought new microphones, and I don't know, we need to speak directly into them. But Stanley, let us know now. We're trying to upgrade our audio, and so if you're still having problems, just type it out. Let us know. We'll try to keep working on it. Yeah,
you know, there's newfound technology. It's a hit and miss sometimes.
Well, we're trying to hit it.
I see, and I see. You know, we got rid of our gold standards. Now with this nickel plate.
Well, these are sort of the gold standard for podcasts, but we're at a bar where it's a little bit, the audio is sometimes a little bit more challenging, but we're trying. I mean, we want to have people hear what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. Well, let's, until we get Tammy back, let's your outrage of the week.
My outrage. You know, we started last night. We talked about it. I'll get Jim riled up here, but you know, Senator Padilla I thought was not only manhandled there, but also whether you're debatable, but he showed up at a press conference in California, obviously concerned about what's going on. I mean, you've got the Marines, you've got the National Guard. I mean, it's insane. You know, they're talking about, you know, now the Texas governor's talking about bringing out the National Guard for protests. It's ridiculous. It's intimidation, you know. I mean, we're allowed to protest. We're not allowed to riot. We're allowed to protest, but when you start bringing out the National Guard just because you're having a bit, look, DC has had million people out, hundreds of thousands of people out, and they don't bring the National Guard in. They should have brought in for the riot at the Capitol, which they did not.
Well, we're going to go back to that and talk about Florida, where they say they're going to kill the protesters, whatever they're going to do. We got Tammy back. Let's go back to the land bank. Allan.
Okay, Tammy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay, good. You're coming in loud and clear.
Perfect.
So
are you.
So we were talking about some of the criticism, and maybe we can go over it again because I think you were coming in and out. Mm-hmm. People are talking about the prices changing all the time, about the red tape, about the difficulties of accessing. Tell us what's real, what's not, or what you see is real and what's not.
So there are a multitude of programs that we run, and the prices are different. So for Detroit residents, there's the side lot program and the neighborhood lot program. Those prices are $100 and $250. Those prices are reserved for owners and residents of property in the city. And so when individual or organizations try to access those properties, they're frustrated, but those properties are for residents, for owners of property in the city that live adjacent to these vacant structures. And so we have, I mean, there's quite a bit. I mean, that is in large part so we've created all these different programs to try to target and try to accommodate all of the desires of the different organizations that come forward. And there's a level of confusion when they try to access programs that are really not for them. There is inherently in real estate transactions, there's gonna be paperwork and red tape. Have you ever purchased a property and didn't have to sign your life away? When you go get a mortgage, it's always very complicated. That is even more complicated with the land that the land bank has, because again, we're the owner of last resort. We are the owner of the property that nobody wanted, that nobody took care of. And so oftentimes the title is clouded and requires lengthy litigation with quiet title to clear the title before we can even try to sell it to someone. And so it's, you know, it's not always going to be a quick transaction because things are messy. And I mean, just the sheer volume, we had 115,000 pieces of property in our inventory. We still have almost 64,000 pieces of property in our inventory. We've sold property at an unheard of rate. Like I said, we've sold over almost 54,000 pieces of property in the last 10 years. Even with that speed, there's still a high demand. And we are trying to, we're trying to turn it around as quickly as possible, but it is not an easy feat. It's just not.
Does it bother you that the land bank has become a political football?
It bothers me for the staff, because I know the staff at the land bank works extremely hard to try to to move property as quickly as possible. And so the notion that, they don't care or they're not doing their job, that part does bother me, because again, we sell thousands of properties a year, thousands. And that part is lost. All the things that we've done, they don't talk about that. So there's always the conversation about what we haven't done. And so I would love for that conversation to be more balanced, because while I recognize, no, we're not perfect. We're human beings trying to accomplish a very difficult task, but there must be recognition for the progress that has been made.
What do you need to do more of to get closer? I mean, you're not going to get perfect, but edging toward that, what do you still need to do to change the process?
So resources are always a part of that. Like, all the things that people complain about cost money.
Right.
And so, again, we're not talking about selling one house. We're talking about selling thousands of pieces of property. So there's always a resource challenge. There's a technology challenge. We are trying to update our technology and make it and provide a tool that people can self-serve, and they can get a lot of the information that they need on our website without having to, call somebody and try to, get somebody on the phone. We're trying to update our technology and make it, more up to date, using, AI chatbots, allowing people to interface with us, via the social media channels. All of that is coming in.
No, you're good.
Next
few. And tell us what kind of inventory. What kind of inventory do you have left here, and when there's some talk maybe of the land bank eventually shutting down once you're done with your mission. What's the future look like right now? What do you have in terms of inventory, and how long is it going to take you to get rid of that inventory?
So our current inventory hovers right around 63,000 pieces of property. The vast majority, almost 60,000, is vacant land. We have about 1,700 houses that are salvageable and will be sold. And we have another maybe a little less than 1,000 properties that need to be demolished. The rest of the properties are either already sold and they just haven't closed. We have a sizable population of properties that are occupied that we don't sell via our traditional auction too. So yeah, the vast majority of our inventory is vacant land, and we undertook a very comprehensive planning process and we got stakeholder and community feedback about where they want to see the land bank go. So as our inventory has made a significant shift to vacant land, our programming will shift to try to return that remaining 60,000 pieces of property of vacant land back to productive use. The timeline on how long that's going to take. So it took us 10 years to sell 53,000 pieces of property. I suspect that it'll be around that amount of time in order to return these remaining parcels back to productive use.
So Tammy, we have a viewer asking about the property and the pricings on the land. So will you tell our viewers a little bit about the process, how the determination is made, whether to demolish a house, and then as I see it, it gets turned over to the land bank if it's demolished. Is that the process? And how Detroiters can access that property to build? So I think people are suggesting, one, that the housing that's out there is unlivable, and then once the house is demolished, they just don't have an opportunity to make productive use of that land. So can you tell us just how the process works so they understand it?
So
I know it's remedial, but
no, absolutely. So we inventory all of our structures, and we have someone go in and survey them to determine which pipeline they should go into. And so if it's determined that a property cannot be salvaged, it will go into the demolition pipeline where it will be demolished. And once it's demolished, it will come back into our inventory and will be sold. How a property is determined to go into the various vacant land programming, side lot is sacrosanct. That's, if there is a vacant lot adjacent to a occupied structure, we're going to try to sell it to that person as a side lot. What complicates matters is that the city continues to go through planning process because we do have all this vacant land. And so the goal is to follow the lead of the city and the city planners who have determined how we should dispose of the majority of these large swaths of vacant land. So there may be times where someone wants to purchase a piece of vacant land, but our planning partners at the city have determined that, okay, no, this is ideal for infill housing. We should reserve these properties so that someone can come and build affordable housing on them, as opposed to somebody who will come forward and maybe they want to put a garden on there. And so there's a struggle between the immediate desire of a resident coming forth wanting to maybe do a garden or something, and the city and its desire to use these large contiguous swaths of land in order to meet its affordable housing desires, or whatever the planning department has determined is the appropriate use for that land.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to wrap it up.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right. Okay, we're gonna just wrap it up here. Are there any? I was going to ask you about, in terms of, you say you have 1,000 properties, homes, or whatever they need to be raised. How long is that going to? Are you going to be able to do that in a year, or how long does that take to actually take care of those 1,000 properties?
So the demolitions those are handled by our city partners, but I think that they plan to have most of those done by the end of the year.
End of the year, by December of 2025, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Well,
goal
that's good
is
news.
You're going to have to come in, Tammy.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're gonna have to have you come back, because it is.
please
It is.
invite me
We're
back.
probably going to hear. the mayoral election is, hopefully heats up. We're not feeling that. We're barely feeling any real warmth of it, but we want to come back because we want people to be educated about the issues, and we don't want, they seem to, the candidates are ganging up on the land bank and sort of demonizing the land bank. And obviously, you guys you've put people in homes, and you've gotten rid of some abandoned homes and stuff like that. And so clearly there are some issues that are legit and some maybe that are just being, hyperbole or whatever. But we'd love to have you come back and actually talk more about it.
Absolutely. And for me, I guess the question is, if we get rid of the land bank, then what is the solution to deal with the 63,000 pieces of property that would be?
And you have a whole nother problem.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. People want to identify the problem, but they refuse to identify the solution and look at the opportunity out there that's out there instead of looking at vacant land as a wasteland, and it's an opportunity.
Well,
yes.
Thank you, Tammy.
Well, yes.
Tammy
I'll
Daniels.
come back anytime. So you guys have a good weekend. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon.
Good to see you. Don't be a stranger.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. You want to bring in our next?
Right, Marty.
I'm still waiting on my outrage. I guess we got to wait till the end of the show today.
Yeah, well.
Or they're putting me off, is what they're doing.
Yeah, you don't have your outrage. You know what? People, we have had this guy on before, and people said Detroit is full of criminals, crooks, politicians on the tape. But I think Taylor is a close second.
You bet, man. It's tough out there.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Martin Drouillard. I'm running for city council in the city of Taylor.
And you got on body armor?
They
got a hit out on you, man.
Yeah, it's continuing, man. They're taking my signs down, and
that's all par for the course.
And then,
You from Taylor, right?
I grew up there.
Where they play? It's been playing dirty a long time.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid of Taylor.
Right. You got a big gun.
Taylor has been a political cesspool since it was a city in 1968. We go back. There were some good leaders in Taylor, which is unfortunate because a lot of the good leaders didn't have the opportunity to lead. And,
and I thought the Fed cleaned it up, put Rick Fowler in jail, and
he might still be running the show.
Tell us what's the biggest issue?
Well, you have the tow situation there. You have the asphalt company. They've done a no bid 9-year contract they gave to a garbage company. It's
and you had a vacancy on the city council how long?
For a year and a half.
Why won't they fill it?
And well, because nobody can agree. There's 3-3, and it ends up like that all the time. And the charter doesn't give them a way out, which it should have been. I think the next person in line that worked so hard and spent their money to run, it should be that next person in line. So they got the next amount of votes.
Why are you different? Why do you think you can make a difference?
Well, because I'm honest. That's probably the biggest point. And I'd like to be really transparent with everything, anything that goes on with the city. It's just a little backwards now with that.
Now?
It's been well, I had a police officer, a gentleman who just passed away, God rest his soul, but he retired, and he said ever since the 70s, it's been pretty
hectic.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah. But I'm pushing, and they hate to see me when I walk into city council.
Every city has a Marty Drouillard. They come in and everybody wants them to go away, but we don't want them to go away.
Like a bad penny, man. You keep popping back.
And we had them in Trenton. We're like, oh no, who's coming to the city council meeting tonight, right? That's in Detroit. Everywhere.
Well, you know what I learned that if some of our elected officials would let these people talk and they talk back to them like human beings, you wouldn't have all the chaos and the mess. Listen,
they won't answer 90%.
I dealt with telepolitics And the previous mayor before Silas, who was that?
Preview.
Yeah,
No, Lamaran.
No, right before that. That was Preview.
Petoniak.
Yeah.
Preview.
They was gonna railroad some kids down there, and they had no problem throwing their ass in jail, and they turned out to be innocent.
That was something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something.
You took a big chunk out of their ass on that.
Yeah, they hate to see me come down. They hate to see me come down Taylor. I get blamed for some of the stuff some of you candidates are doing, and I'm not even down that way. Your main issues in this campaign?
It's got to be the giving contracts, because it seems that we're just giving a contract, a millions of dollar contract to a felon. They've got caught bid rigging, asphalt company, but we're going to keep giving them contracts.
Didn't he when someone had a protest, a city council meeting? He paid for the protest.
That was the other tow company that was trying to get in there. Who was, they sued me. I still have a suit.
What was he paying for the opposition sign?
He was giving them $200 for a $7 sign. and then you wonder what else you're paying for, or whatever. But hey, I'm going to be careful with what I say about him. But
and then your mayor said that they were going to be like ICE agents for the government.
Oh, that's
and you saying, and
that was the chief.
Yeah,
that was the police chief.
You saying that y'all don't have enough cops to control the community.
That's true, and that's very true. And then I worry about maybe a road police officer making a mistake and costing this, because then the city gets sued. It's not the government's not going to take that suit up.
So let's back up for just a minute. The agreement with ICE and all the agreements across the country with ICE are not for on the street enforcement.
No.
They're for jail processing. So what happens is the city of Taylor signed an agreement with ICE that if you're brought in on a domestic violence and you have an ICE retainer or you're wanted by ICE, what the city has agreed to do is notify ICE, and instead of freeing you after your arraignment, they will turn you over to ICE.
Do they get paid? Does the city get any money from that?
No. So I think we need to understand that. I did some research on this because at some point, I think it was Christy Noam, our hero, said that we're using local police departments to enforce ICE law. That's absolutely inaccurate. They will only turn over somebody after they've been arrested.
Well, not necessarily arrested. Not necessarily arrested.
Aren't they
could be
going in
pulled over.
schools, snatching students out?
Yeah, they were trying to get a school deal too. But then the mayor was going to remove the police officer from the school.
But the agreement isn't for a traffic stop to turn someone over to ICE. They've always done it. If they think somebody's involved in illegal activity, the police officer may, as a, I guess, instead of calling a neighboring department to say, hey, is this guy a problem with you? They may pick up the phone with ICE, and ICE may come and get them. They don't have the resources to come out and pick up somebody on a traffic stop.
Well, I mean,
maybe they will.
Well, aren't you saying, Marty? Aren't you saying that Taylor police mission should be protecting Taylor citizens?
Correct, because they have a tough enough job doing that right now.
Because a few years ago,
they can't even put patrols out on the street. You don't see patrols.
Man, didn't a few years ago you had a treasurer never came to work?
You had the treasurer, yeah. And then it's the best of both worlds in Taylor, man. It seems like there's a gentleman there that works when I was getting signatures. I never seen one person go in his office. And he's making 80, 90K a year or something.
Talk to our viewers for just a second. We don't mean to ignore you. And Adolph was just talking about going to the city council and having a voice. This podcast is your voice too. So we don't want to ignore you. Dwell your voice. Good morning, all. Thank you, Derek Henry. Good morning, family. You are family. Day. Thank you, Day. Day took down some of these houses in Detroit. Said some are wrecked inside now. Stephanie Jackson. Good morning, Sam and Stephanie. And Day, you're blowing us out this morning, but thank you. If the residents don't have, he's using big words, geographic and demographic, rebuilding the community. We talk about DTE getting an option to take the property, and I'm not sure about that. We talk about a conspiracy with DLBA in the city of Detroit. Now, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. Let's go back. How many people running for city council?
16.
For how many? All
17.
All 17. And the mayor is running for, who's the mayor?
Yeah, Mayor Woolley is running against Butch Ramick.
Isn't he a tool of a front for silence?
You could say that.
Well, that's a stretch. I mean, I'll defend my community.
But when you start giving out suspect contracts and shit,
Yeah, it is. It is. It's,
Well, here's
a great question.
But the mayor does not.
they throw dirt.
The mayor does not.
They throw dirt on the city of Detroit all the time. Say that crooked politicians. All I have to do is go down Telegraph,
That's
and
true.
there it is.
But just like the city of Detroit and the city of Wyandotte and the city of Canton,
Dearborn.
you need the city
Warren.
council. You need the city council to sign off on anything. You need their approval.
But you
Just
got,
that
But you
but
can't
you
get
got,
it if you go
but you got a
3 and
vacancy.
3.
You got a vacancy, a year and a half vacancy. They won't call a special election. They
Yeah.
won't appoint anybody.
They don't want to spend that money.
That's unfucking believable.
And so then there's a situation in the courts. 3 people are voting yes, 3 people are voting no, but their attorney is working for the 3 people that are voting yes.
Who's the attorney? The city attorney?
Yeah, city at Plato. And I'm like, I said, hey, don't these 3 get a word in it? You're just going to work for these 3.
Well, so you're saying they're representing the mayor, and it's not exactly.
And I'm supposed to go that way. We're gonna take a break. Gonna come back with Marty and continue.
We're going to try and tell the truth here, everybody that's watching. We're going to try and work on that.
And it's
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
I think I died and went to hell. I got 3 people that start fires, and we can't even call a fire department in California nowhere to put them out. We have had this young lady on several times, JeDonna Dinges. How you doing?
I'm good, Adolph. Thank
You
you
know,
for having me.
she and her family was harassed in Grosse Pointe.
Grosse Pointe Park.
A guy want to be the local mouthpiece for the Klan, or trying to intimidate you. I think he picked on the wrong person.
Kinda.
And Marty got to wear body armor and tell her, because when he shows up at the city council meeting,
Things get a little tight.
right, and we have our own resident fire starter, Eric Brown. I tell you, let's go to you, Ms. Dinges. Now, you fought to get a bill passed in the House.
Yes. In the state legislature.
Tell us, how is that come?
So, well, the bill was signed. Governor Whitmer signed it. House Bill 5400 and 5401, new hate crimes legislation. And it came out of the incident that you referenced in 2021. my daughter India and I were targeted by a white supremacist neighbor who put up a Klan flag in his window to terrorize us and intimidate us. And because of the way that Michigan's hate crime, ethnic intimidation law is written, Prosecutor Worthy was not able to prosecute him. You've known me for a long time, Adolph. You know, Detroit don't raise no punk, okay? So I did not take that line down. I immediately got to work with a friend of mine, Bridget Maxey. She used to work in Lansing. She now lives in D.C. And we formed a work group, a grassroots group called the Ethnic Intimidation Law Amendment Work Group. And there were about 30 members on the group, people from the governor's office, various elected officials were involved, lobbyists and attorneys and so forth, to get this legislation passed.
And you got it passed.
We got it passed.
You got it signed.
We got it signed.
But it didn't stop there. Tell us the latest incident.
The latest thing that happened, the sponsor of the legislation is a young lawmaker out of West Bloomfield. His name is Noah Arbit. There was a town hall meeting on May 7th to discuss the legislation. And it was at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield. And I signed up to go because I was like, this would be awesome to be able to talk about the legislation and hear other people's thoughts. And AG Nestor was going to be there as well. But I signed up, registered to go, myself and my daughter. And when we got there, we refused entry. Prior to the date of the event, I received a text from Representative Arbit telling me if I showed up, I'd be arrested. I reached out to our lobbyists. He reached out to the Attorney General's office, and they were like, "You gotta be kidding me. You know, she's not gonna have any problems if she shows up to this event. How would we look at arresting a Black woman for coming to an event about hate crime? Like, come on."
Why was they mad at you?
Arbit is upset that I'm talking about how this legislation came to be, about the work that the grassroots did, because I think that it's important to tell people that when something happens to you, you don't have to take it lying down. You can make change. We all have the ability to be change agents.
There's no question about it. And Marty, what keeps you going? You fired up, and this was, you went to them and said we need a bill.
Absolutely.
And then you get the bill, and they want to slap you around and say, okay.
Yeah.
They even say thanks.
No, there was no thanks. And when we showed up to this meeting, we were harassed by the West Bloomfield police. We were told if we did not leave a public meeting that was paid for with public dollars. I FOIA'd the records. You know me. I'm going to do my due diligence. This meeting was paid for with public dollars. It was a public meeting, and we were refused entry. 2 Black women were turned away by the police. We were told we would be arrested if we did not leave the premises.
Well, how was they dealing with you and Taylor? How was they dealing with you and Taylor since you've been protesting the way?
You know, they try everything there to quiet you. You know, they try any little. You know, they had my son tied up in a situation, which is, you know, will take place in this. You know, we'll take that one to court too. And these people think they can keep you quiet, and they can't. I'm never going to be quiet. And now they get that after 5 or 6 years.
You've been a big critic of do nothing politicians. What advice do you give these activists?
Well, you know, saying to reach out to your politicians would be an oxymoron because they tend to support one another. But have you reached out to the Do Nothing Michigan Black Caucus, Democratic Caucus?
No, because as you said, here's my thing: is that I'm not. I know that I did the work. We know that we did the work. It's on record. We were at bill signing with the governor. The governor just doesn't we pick people to go to bill signing. So no, I have not reached out to them. I'm fighting back because that's what I do.
So this guy want to take credit for all the hard work you did.
Correct, and deny that the people that were involved in getting this legislation done were Black people. Myself, Bridget Maxey, Black people. 2 Black women. Our lobbyist, Rudy Hobbs, Black man. Senator Sylvia Santana, Black woman. And he wants to erase our voices from a conversation about hate crimes where we're the ones who did the work. When Black women show up to get things done, we don't just show up to protect our own community, we protect everybody. We pull our capes out of storage, we put them on, and we save everybody's asses. We do it all the time in this country. We've been doing it the whole time we've been here. And I refuse to let anybody erase my voice from a conversation that I started. This legislation would not be in existence if our group had not formed and our attorney had not written the legislation.
What's your next step?
So the next thing that I'm doing, you know how I do. I'm looking at every legal avenue to take action. We should not have been excluded from this meeting. We should not have been denied entry, and we're looking at legal action.
And that's my point, to Adolph and Jim can attest to this. Allan is a reporter. It was a public meeting.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm on the school board. There's no way that we can deny anyone an opportunity to come to a public meeting.
That's correct.
It's a law. And for them to have done that, and this is what bothers me about the media, because I'm sure they knew. They're not reporting on it.
Channel 2 was there.
So
Channel 2
Did they interview you?
Yeah, I called the reporter from Channel 2. I called into Channel 2 and they dispatched me to the reporter. They connected me to the reporter. He called me and he said, well, they said your name wasn't on the list of attendees.
It's a public meeting.
It's a public meeting. I don't need to be on the list of attendees.
That sounds familiar, Martin.
They ain't stopping me, man.
Right. What's your next step? And tell.
Oh, well, I'm running for city council, and just a change with it. We got a few like-minded people out there running with the mayor, Butch Ramick. He's going to run for mayor, and hopefully we can just clean this up.
It's performance so far, man.
I would give it a D. A D, and I'm being nice. Mayor is Tim Woolley. My son hit something with ball together. I know him pretty well, I know his dad, everything,
So you gotta
Butch right into the mayor. So
Yeah. Thanks for cleaning it up. But I also do a podcast. It's called Taylor Uncovered, and we usually around Wednesdays and Sundays.
Okay.
And
I've seen some of the comments that are made towards you and the people that support you, man. And it sounds like the place where I grew up in Royal Oak Township, where if they know anything about your family history, they're gonna say it.
They're
in
gonna
public.
come at you.
Yeah, they're gonna say it in public. You know what? We gotta have you back on, JeDonna, because you know what? And I know that you don't take shit lying down.
No, I never have. I mean, I grew up with two parents who were activists. We didn't know that they were activists. I just thought everybody did what my parents did. But I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. And we fought this fight to ensure that every living, breathing person in the state of Michigan was protected against ethnic intimidation and hate, and so that includes me. And so the person who sponsors the legislation turns around and does the thing that the bill was designed to stop.
That's the way some politicians operate. Do you have a number or anything? If somebody want to get in touch with you?
If someone wants to reach out to me, they can definitely reach out to me. I'm on social media, JeDonna Dinges, JeDonna Dinges, Dinges, or through my business, Margo and Matt. We're in Jefferson Chalmers. But the main thing I want to encourage people to do is when you are faced with injustice, don't take it lying down. Don't let somebody tell you that they're more powerful than you are. Nobody's more. All of us are individuals. We are powerful. Elected officials are just like us. They're people. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do.
Okay, Martin, how they get in touch with you?
They can get. I'm on Facebook. Martin Drouillard. That's MartinDrouillard. And on my YouTube, my podcast.
You grew up in Southwest Detroit.
I certainly
so
did.
You ain't no punk either.
No. Not in this world. Let me tell you.
And listen, the late Coleman Young, everybody know his epic battles with the media. He was at a function where there was Bill Bonds and Pete Wallmeyer. Now he hates both of them. He got up there and said, damn, I must have went to hell. I'm sitting in between two devils.
I like
you
that.
know, but hey, you know, it was good for the meet. Listen, they didn't play around, and you can't play around. They want to take, man, they always want to take credit for the hard work that somebody else do.
Absolutely. And again, we can't. That's why I'm here. We can't let. They thought that they could silence me. The man who put the Klan flag up. We have a federal lawsuit against him now, which is starting to move through the courts against our former neighbor.
Well, good luck on that. Good luck on that, because it gets to the Supreme Court.
Well, I'm not worried about it getting to the Supreme Court. I mean, we're very fortunate in the luck of the draw with a judge that is hearing our cases, an Obama appointee, and she is not playing around. So we're very lucky in that regard. But I'm not afraid to. Obviously, I'm not afraid to take legal action. I'm not afraid to do what needs to be done to address injustice.
Okay, we're gonna take a break. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
Okay, we're back. I tell you, they're fired up. Can't take no more. Fired up. Can't take no more. We want to do, Jim, you want to do,
I want Allan to finish with this.
his,
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I was kidding with you earlier, Jan. Good morning, Jan. My dear friend Jan from who I volunteer with at the Victory Gym. Thank you for weighing in. And I think,
yeah.
everybody.
I thought you'd be working out the gym. I know you volunteer. I thought you were working out.
I do both, but I'm always the before picture.
Okay. You want to finish your
Well, you know, before I do that, I'd like to mention that actually the top story at Deadline Detroit today is Chauncey Bailey, who Adolph knew.
Yeah.
Chauncey was he was a character. He was a great guy. He was a reporter here. He was originally from Oakland, California. He was a reporter and columnist here for about 10 years. He went back eventually to his hometown of Oakland, California, and took over the Oakland Post, which is the largest African-American weekly newspaper in Northern California. And he was doing an investigation on the finances of a very highly questionable, it was called Your Black Muslim Bakery. They were involved in a lot of stuff. Yeah, and Chauncey was investigating them, and the top guy for the bakery got one of the guys there who was a handyman to walk up to Chauncey. This is 2007. Walked up. Chauncey was walking to work in downtown Oakland. Guy popped out of a car with a shotgun, shot Chauncey 3 times. They've since named, in 2022, they named a street after him in Oakland, California. And today the story is that the young man who killed him, a man was 19. He's gotten paroled now.
That's it.
In the last week. Yeah. Well, he had a deal that he got 25 years, and he testified against the head of the bakery who ordered the hit because he didn't want Chauncey publishing that. And so, I mean, it's just one of those cases where we've all, you know, in reporting, there are people who get killed. We've all been threatened by different people, but Chauncey actually he stuck his neck out.
Chauncey, he was a different guy. Coleman Young couldn't stand him.
Yeah.
But he called me one day and said, "Tell the mayor." I guess he was mad at his bosses at the Detroit News. He's saying that Detroit News got reporters digging in the garbage cans of the fire department, EMS. They're gonna do a big story. So I go back. I tell the mayor, some of the mayor's people at a meeting, and they say, "Oh, that's not true. That is not true." Mayor said, "Where did you get that information from?" I said, "Chauncey Bell." He said, "Fuck Chauncey Bell." You know, a couple weeks later, here comes the story.
And that's Chauncey on the right, and the kid who killed him was 19. He was a handyman. He was ordered by the head of the bakery to kill Chauncey.
Yeah, he was assassinated.
So this happened when?
In 2007.
Yeah.
So 18 years later, he's out of jail.
Yeah. Well, you know,
The other guy, the other two, the head of the bakery is serving life without parole, and another guy who I think drove him to shoot him, he's also serving life without parole.
Jim,
I want Allan to tee it up for me. He was teeing it up.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. You want to talk about the? We were talking about Senator Padilla in California, who attended a press conference for Kristi Noem, the head of a government official, and she was talking about the immigration issues, and he went to ask a question, and he was grabbed by I don't know if it's Homeland Security people, an FBI agent, and let's before Jim and I are debating what happens,
Friendly.
but when the police grab you, which we'll see here, what happens, they confront him, they grab him. I mean, your natural reaction.
Guys, ready? And Bell, sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to go
Hands off.
specifically how many of our ICE agents have been docked.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
I can tell you where they made some mistakes, but I want to go somewhere else. I don't want to start there, right? I want to start with this. I looked this up last night. I was a police chief, and we had training over and over again on something called implicit bias. So what implicit bias is, if you don't know, is unconscious bias. So explicit bias refers to conscious, deliberate prejudice or belief about certain groups. It's a demonstration of conscious preference or aversion towards a person or group. With explicit bias, we are aware of our attitudes or beliefs we have towards others. I'm going to give you an example. So just hear me out on this. On this show, we had our co-host, and I'm not trying to beat him up, over the last month or two say, speaking about a police killing in Washington, D.C. that just happened to occur on January 6th. She got what she deserved. I have no problem with what the cop did on January 6th. But then at a different spot during this podcast, we suggested that.
Who was saying this?
On this show, it wasn't you, one of our podcast hosts said that. I don't really want to use names, but said that they didn't have any problem with that. It's only Allan, Adolph, Eric, Vanessa, or Jim.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't want to say if they want to claim that they said it. I understand what they said.
I only asked if it was me.
It was not you. But the next one is you.
All right. Go ahead.
You said that Patrick Lyoya was executed. All right. And that's fine. And I said on this show many times, I can understand why 6 people that were on that panel believe that he was executed, and 6 people believe that it was self-defense. Now, 10 out of the 12 jurors felt that it was self-defense. We can talk about the bias of the jurors, and it seems like there may be bias in the jury system in this particular incident.
Sure.
But my point is, we can all be better. So what explicit bias is, we know the truth, but we don't want to know the truth. We want to, I guess, twist the truth. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that to our viewers, and please tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot. But in the Padilla case, it didn't have to happen that way, right? He could have done 20 different things. So could the police. They could have done 20 different things. They could have just let him go on, and then decided what to take. But what we failed to recognize is, and we talked about a little bit last night, they have one role, and they're to protect the protectee. And they did everything they needed to do to separate that threat, the perceived threat, from the Secretary of Defense. So whether you agree with it or not, that was their role that day, and they separated him. They separated the senator from the protectee. Now, what I have a problem with is they carried it a little bit too far, and I would suggest to you that they knew who they were dealing with. I disagree with the administration's position that they did not know who they were dealing with.
Well, I mean, look, what they did. And the senator knew what he was doing when he went in there. And you know what? There's been times where you want to try to intimidate elected official, appointed official, and you show up and say, "What the fuck you doing at my press conference?" And you don't supposed to be there. Now,
my only point is we can all be better. Let's look at it from a.
Did he really have to be there? Because he knew they weren't going to answer his questions.
I mean, I would
know they wasn't going to answer.
Well, I think that, I mean, first of all, it's probably, he probably doesn't have the opportunity to go one-on-one unless he calls her before a committee.
And she's still not going to answer.
And she's in California where there's a lot of stuff going live.
She in his territory.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happening. So the question becomes, first of all, what if he was a reporter who just aggressively was asking, which I've been to a lot of press conferences and we've seen it, where it could have been if they didn't.
They went too far. I'm not suggesting they didn't, but my point is only this: your explicit bias or my explicit bias.
Well, gentlemen, we could do a whole show on that, and unfortunately, you didn't get a chance to do your
me
outrage.
His outrage was a counter.
No, my point was, let's report the truth. When Ashley Babbitt was killed by an plainclothes officer in Washington, D.C.
At the Capitol.
3,000 people went into the Capitol. Why did one officer fire one round? She was arguably executed as much as Patrick Loyola was executed.
I disagree. She shouldn't have stuck her fucking head in.
She was asking for trouble.
Yeah,
she was. And you know what it was? This is my interpretation. And I respect your interpretation here, but look, the people are cowering inside. All the members of Congress. These guys are
big shots.
Well, they're hiding under their seats. They're scared shitless because these people are the lynch mob.
Now they're not scared. And you got the last word. Go ahead.
I just want to say is that she went in and started. I mean,
well,
she potentially
she got a family, some money. Yeah. Unfortunately, her and her husband won't be able to spend it. They both did. Yeah. Anyway, your final thought.
Well, today is King's Day for those who want to participate. It's a counter to the big parade in Washington to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army and Donald Trump's birthday. Let's not forget that. And so there's going to be a demonstration at Clark Park, Ferndale, all over the world.
You probably have some people thinking King's Day, that's woke. They don't even know what. Anyway, go ahead, Jim. Your final thought.
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and thanks for our participating today.
Oh yeah, we had really two big troublemakers.
This show only works.
They don't play around.
This show only works because of our colleagues out there.
Well, thanks for dropping in, Eric. And what you having next week on your show?
Monday. Well, next week is Juneteenth, so Thursday is the actual Juneteenth celebration. So on Monday, I will have the chairperson of Black Leaders Detroit, which I'm on the committee for Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit, talking about the activities and festivities for us next weekend.
Okay.
Let me get my quick final thought though.
Okay, go ahead.
Maxine Waters, Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries, fix the Black community before you start worrying about all these immigrants, please.
Okay, well, I don't think they hear you.
I've been in her community, so she has a lot to do in her community.
Well, she made a whole lot of money for her husband
and her daughter
in the banking business. So, and politicians. and I'm not surprised at anything that they do. And we still got a whole hum mayoral race. Hopefully, last month of this primary season.
Still be dead.
Well, it might get hot.
Can I say one thing? Just to the audience, if we welcome feedback. We've been working for a long time on trying to get the right audio correct. So if you're not hearing us properly or you are hearing us properly, let us know because we're trying to tweak it.
And sometimes folks got weak internet.
Yeah, we should apologize for that first segment.
Yeah, we got to get Tammy in live because she is good. She answers some good questions.
You know all the answers.
Yeah, and we'll be back on Wednesday with another round of just the cuffs, and hopefully the Queen will be back. Listen, we better be back.
All right.
Thank you.